Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're getting into something absolutely crucial for any working creative, Graphic Design Lecture 9, which is all about the professional freelance life cycle. We're going to break down the exact macro and micro steps for managing real-world branding client projects. We're talking about everything from that initial pitch all the way to building a body of work that practically secures your future.
Now, right off the bat, I need to point out what we're not covering today. Our source material is hyper-focused on project execution. So general career growth stuff, like how to actually network, negotiate your salary, or find those initial clients, well, that's not in the materials, so we're skipping it. We are looking purely at what to do the second a client says, hey, I need a design.
All right, here is the chronological roadmap for our explainer today. 1. Winning proposals. 2. Strategy and discovery. 3. Design execution. 4. Brand style guides. And 5. Portfolio case studies. Let's dive right in. Section 1. Winning freelance client proposals. Imagine you're pitching a rebrand to, say, a local coffee shop. Your written proposal absolutely must hit these 6 specific elements. You need an airtight scope of work, your past results, a really compelling Why Me section, totally transparent pricing and fees, your standard terms and conditions, and exactly what the next steps are so the client knows how to actually sign and pay that deposit. And I really want to highlight this quote from the lecture. Past results are a form of social proof for clients. It's a massive psychological insight, right? It's exactly why you literally cannot skip the past results section. Whether you're showing off an award-winning layout or a previous redesign that drove up sales, this social proof is very often the tipping point that actually wins you the gig. Moving right along to Section 2, Strategy and Client Discovery. Okay, so you won the pitch. Great. But to keep yourself from just designing in a vacuum, you've got to use this 3-step client intake workflow. It gets everyone strategically aligned on the audience and the visual direction before you even pick up a pencil. Step 1, send a target audience questionnaire to figure out exactly who that coffee shop is talking to. Step 2 is a design preferences questionnaire to nail down their vibe. And step 3, wrap all those insights up into a cohesive mood board. Honestly, if you get the mood right here, the rest of the project just flows. Now, during this discovery phase, remember that competitor analysis is not a shopping list. Look, I know it's super tempting to just look at the biggest corporate coffee chain in town and copy their colors or typography. Just don't do it. Good analysis means scanning a saturated market to find that strategic white space. You want to find the gaps, reduce your risk, and give your client's brand a way to genuinely break the mold and stand out. Which brings us to Section 3, Executing the Design Process. So when you're actually crafting those logos, leaning on the golden ratios 1 to 1.618 math is a real game changer. It builds relationships between shapes that our brains just naturally love. Think of the perfect curve of a nautilus shell. Using the specific proportions psychologically translates into this feeling of trust and beauty, giving your design a really effortless, timeless balance. All right, once your 2D logo is finished, you've got to present it. You never want to just slap a flat logo on a plain background, right? No way. Instead, use this workflow for realistic Photoshop mockups. You start by drawing a basic shape right over your product, convert it to a smart object, drop the opacity down to like 50%, and then warp it to follow the product's natural curves. It creates an instantly believable environment for your work. And to make that mockup look ridiculously realistic, you're going to duplicate that object layer 3 times and use these exact blending modes. Set your shadows to multiply, your midtones to linear dodge add, and your highlights to screen. Then just tweak the levels on each one. What this does is pull the organic lighting from the original photo straight through your flat design. The results? A stunning photorealistic mockup that will absolutely blow your client away. Next up is Section 4, Building Brand Style Guides. When you're writing the actual guidelines for the brand, use the bluff communication style, bottom line up front. We designers kind of have a habit of getting a bit too poetic about our work, but a style guide is a utility document. By putting the bottom line right at the front, you ditch the excessive jargon and make sure anyone, whether it's the coffee shop owner or a junior barista running social media, can open it, instantly get the rules, and apply them correctly. You'll also need an editorial process to manage the brand content moving forward, and the RACI matrix is perfect for this. Dropping this matrix into your style guide is a massive value add that makes you look incredibly professional.
It shows you're not just throwing some visuals over the fence, you're actually helping solve their internal workflow. It clearly defines who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. This essentially protects the integrity of your hard work long after you've handed over the final files.
And finally, we hit Section 5, Crafting Portfolio Case Studies. When you are setting up your Adobe Illustrator document to build out your presentation, you've got to remember this golden number, 1400. That's 1400 pixels, the essential recommended width for Behance. The height can be as long as you need to tell your whole story. But locking the width at exactly 1400 pixels guarantees all your gorgeous imagery and typography will display sharply and optimally across the platform.
Now, structure that presentation meticulously using this exact checklist. Look, a great case study is just a good story, right? You hook them right away with a compelling cover page. You give some context with a project overview, then introduce your raw ingredients, the typography and color systems. Finally, you reveal the magic, those beautifully lit deliverables. Make sure to give them plenty of white space to breathe and wrap the whole shebang up with a final closing banner to leave a super professional, lasting impression.
So as we wrap up this explainer on Lecture 9, we've seen how the professional freelance lifecycle isn't just guesswork. It's a precise, repeatable system, from the very first proposal to the strategy, the mock-ups, and that final case study. Success in this field isn't purely about raw artistic talent, for sure. It's about how you execute this specific workflow. So I leave you with this challenge. Take a hard look at your own process. Where are things slipping through the cracks because you don't have a system? And how are you going to apply this exact framework to knock your next client pitch out of the park? Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time.